Man, I really fucking cut myself shaving.
It's the straight razor.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I don't have it nearby. I was gonna grab my camping knife and be like, nah, man, nah, bro. Just like flick it out. Be like,
You
I go
call that a
natural.
knife?
Yeah, this is what we call a knife down here.
That's a spoon.
Exactly.
I see you've played knifey spoony before.
That actually wasn't, considering how my track record with Australian accents, that actually wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say that wasn't atrocious at all.
Good evening, astronauts. Welcome back to the LaserComb Podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic television with a fine-tooth laser. I am one of your hosts, The Siege, the man with the bullshit haircut himself, and I'm joined by my illustrious and scintillating co-host, NeoCal.
Nightflyers. You'll get caught up watching Nightflyers. Nightflyers.
Night
Okay,
flyers in the sky.
watch them fly throughout the night. See? That you can have that for free. Sci-fi.
Um, yeah,
As we review this, what is this? A 10 year? Uh, when did he write this? This is George R. R. Martin, folks. We're reviewing Nightflyers.
yeah, this week on episode 50 of the LaserComb Podcast, we are talking about the seventh episode overall of a little show based on the works of Mr. Game of Thrones himself, George R. R. Martin. It's called
There's his lesser known sci-fi. For possibly good reason.
It originally aired on December 10th, 2018. Now, I thought this was a Netflix original at first,
So
but
did
upon
I.
but upon looking up the series on Wikipedia, it's actually a sci-fi original. So this
For
would have actually,
boys.
when we were doing Sci-Fi Originals Month, we could have covered this. But no, we didn't.
Didn't
This
see
one,
it for some reason.
but we're covering this on our horror-themed month for Spooktober. Now, when I was looking up the episode list, episode 1 originally aired on December 2nd, 2018.
Oh.
Episode 2 aired on December 3rd,
Oh.
2018. Episode 3 on December 4th.
And
Episode
let me
4
guess.
on the 5th. Episode 5 on the 6th. And then episodes 7 to 10 aired on the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th of 2018.
So it was so good that people demanded it come out in rapid succession.
So in the land of television, this is what's called burning a show off or burning off episodes.
Okay.
This is done in television when they know they have something that's not good.
You don't say.
And so they will shovel it out quickly just to get rid of it and clear up programming space for something else that they feel will potentially draw in more viewers.
Well, we paid for it. We got to put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're Warner Brothers Discovery and decide to make a $90 million Batgirl film and then just decide, fuck it, after the thing is finished.
Wait, what?
Oh, you didn't hear about that?
No.
That was all over the internet a couple of months ago. Um, Warner Brothers made a $90 million Batgirl film that was supposed to go directly to HBO Max. And then after the Warner Brothers and Discovery merger, the CEO of Discovery, who became, I think his name is Victor Zaslav, who then became the CEO of both, decided to just toss the movie out and use it as a tax write-off. The movie was finished. There are like production photos and everything. It was supposed to have Michael Keaton returning as Batman in it.
How
And
how
so
could that possibly be so bad? They just wanted to bury it.
It has more to do with Victor Zaslav's vision of what DC movies should be. So apparently, this movie just wasn't big scale enough for him. So he's like, "Oh, this will damage the brand, so we're just going to throw it out."
Well, I
Which,
guess that makes
which is
Nightflyers better than the Batgirl movie because at least it was on TV.
the they've taken a lot of flack for it because the movie had an extremely diverse, ethnically
I'm looking
diverse
it up
cast.
now. Yeah.
It had very ethnically diverse cast, a very LGBT cast. So you can imagine what the reaction to this to like billionaire like white CEO dude just being like, "Fuck this movie, we're not releasing it." You can imagine what the response on the internet was to that.
Yeah, and I mean, not to throw shade, but I mean, there are some pretty bad fucking DC movies out there. What's another drop in the bucket?
There's no possible way this could have been worse than 2016's Suicide Squad.
I wasn't going to bring up the movie that shall not be named, but could it? It couldn't have been.
No.
Like
Uh,
even if it was like really badly like edited and the sound design was terrible and it was made, like as if it were like a college student project. It
right?
still would have been like, hey, let's check it out.
Yeah.
Just cause. Yeah. And indeed, just like Batgirl, Nightflyers, we're like, hey, let's check it out. That's diverse. Oh God, they're on to me. I dissed DC.
Batman just like smashes through your window.
I heard you talking shit.
uh,
And I'm like, oh no, it's Michael Keaton Batman. Sweet.
and he's all like, "You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts."
That'd be great. What an adventure. How do you even turn that down?
I love the way he delivers that line in the movie. "You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts."
Come on.
I love Michael Keaton. I love that he's had a bit of a career resurgence in the past like or not 5 years, past like 10 years.
I was gonna say my Beetlejuice, my favorite Beetlejuice actors, Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, have had a resurgence in the last like half decade
Yeah.
or so. Yeah, like with Stranger Things, Michael Keaton with Birdman.
Yeah,
He was the
he did
Vulture.
he
Yeah.
did Birdman back in 2014, and then in what was it, 2017, he was Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Great.
Coming
Great.
back as Batman, but then they canceled that movie. But they're still going forward with The Flash and starring the ever troubled and ever troublesome Ezra Miller.
And
That's a
yeah.
name that's been all over the news lately.
So, episode 50 of the Lasercomb podcast, Nightflyers.
Yeah,
A little 1980. We're flying off the handle here, much like the writing and the plot of Nightflyers.
okay, so full disclosure,
1980 novel by George R. Martin, by the way. This is back when he actually wrote books.
yeah,
Novella?
a novella, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, just a short story thing.
So, full disclosure, I had never seen this show before, which is, half the fun of this podcast. But, Cal, you've seen this series before,
I
correct?
have all the way through. And you
Yep.
know what? Didn't help me. I'm like,
I was gonna say you're gonna have to help. You're gonna have to help me out
I'll
here
try,
because
yeah.
I have no idea what the fuck I just watched.
Okay. Should we jump into it? So Nightflyers.
We'll try.
Okay, so the premise of it is a team of the world's most unprofessional scientists journey into
Okay, so
space.
these people are scientists.
I'm
Air
doing air quotes,
air
audio
quotes.
listeners. Um, they go to intercept something that's passing through the outer solar system that's supposed to be giving off signals that are technological.
Okay.
So potential first contact situation, right? But this is going to be a mission, and we want actual people aboard, not just probes. For some reason, because people are gonna never fuck anything up, right?
Because people are more reliable than technology.
Yeah, I would have just sent a bunch of probes being like, "Hey," with good things on it, not a bunch of like emotionally unstable fucking like what's the like what's that channel known for, like it's really cheesy dramas. Uh
I
fucking
I don't know.
I can't remember, but it's trying to be HBO-ish. It's trying to be a little bit of Event Horizon. Now, those don't really mix. Young, like adult relationship drama shows don't really work with technological, emotional, and body horror.
So you remember a couple of months ago we reviewed Mission Genesis slash Deepwater Black?
Yes.
This show kind of reminded me of Deepwater Black if it was rated
If the
R
cast
with
was
money.
older, this is there we go. We're following up with the sequel, rated R, higher budget Deepwater Black with an
Yeah,
older cast.
yeah. I got that's the vibe that I got from this show.
If DILFs and MILFs are your thing, come check out Nightflyers. We got bear daddies, we got fit daddies, we got short-haired bitchy blonde MILFs.
But you know what we don't have is space dandies.
We don't have space dandies, and you know what? It hurts. There's not a single space dandy. So at the beginning, we're watching The Deer Hunter, I guess. Uh,
So the show starts off with a game of Russian roulette, and this was kind of uncomfortable for me to watch.
the show starts off with Russian roulette, and they're playing, and they're scared, and it's a bunch of sweaty. And if you've never watched the series, you're probably like, "Oh, this must be a flashback or something like that," right?
Yeah.
And it's a little bit scarring because right before one of the girls is about to pull the trigger, someone in the corner is like, "Hey, look at me when you do it this time. Yeah, make eye contact, but put it in your mouth
I hated this
and do
guy.
it. And now pull the trigger. Yeah, slow." And then she dies, and everybody wakes up, and we find out that they are all in a simulated reality provided by a powerful psychic.
Okay, so I was confused here because there are scenes where like a character is basically in Cerebro from the X-Men.
Oh, that's different. I'll get
Yeah,
to
yeah.
that.
So it seems like to me that oh, and then there's another character who seems like they're in like the Matrix basically in a diner. But
So
then there,
this is called escapism, the episode.
but then there are also like a shared world created by a psychic. It's like how many virtual worlds do we have going on?
There's four, but we only cover three in this episode.
Just have one virtual. That's all you need. You just need the Matrix. That's all.
So, and indeed, we will get to the Matrix in a moment. So we find out at the beginning of the episode that what was it? It was all a dream, but they're all doing it on purpose and they're all excited for it. Now, this episode follows a previous episode, and there's an 8-month time jump. And so, right? So, like, there's a pregnant woman
Right.
when she was just barely showing on the previous episode. And I guess everyone's best friend with this L1. Those are the different categories. So L3s can get little glimpses here or there. They might get headaches. L2s can like concentrate and kind of like read people's thoughts if they're close to them or whatever. And L1s are like reality benders, dangerous.
L1's our Professor Xavier, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And indeed, for the most part of the first episode or two, or like whatever, this guy is kept in a little psychic prison until he can control his
Is it made entirely of see-through like hard plastic floating in the middle of a room and like
floating in the
a
middle of a room, and there's a chestboard made of
and
plastic in the center.
there's a chessboard made of plastic in the center, and like the pathway like pulls away as you hear like do 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 do. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm referencing the first X-Men movie. If you didn't, if you weren't aware.
And maybe we should just talk about the first X-Men movie. It will be less emotionally scarring too. So, anyways, Magneto was present during the Holocaust. So, fuck, what even happens next after? Oh, my brain is going.
What is up with the guy?
Agatha.
So there's this
Agatha
one.
is the psychiatrist.
There's this one dude who is like hooking up jumper cables to like hunks of flesh.
He, yeah.
And then going into Cerebro and communicating with them.
Okay, so
help me here.
I'm gonna. What a fucking episode! I this is probably, we've done 50 episodes of this, listeners. This is the most bananas episode you could have possibly have jumped into.
This is the biggest like WTF thing that we've
jumped into
that we've watched on this show.
Shows that have multiple seasons.
Yeah. Like 12 Monkeys, and we were still able to like figure out what was going on.
This girl's the bad girl, and this girl wants to kill her, and we're kind of piecing it together.
And we're jumping back and forth between different timelines.
This is not in a bad way, but like in a, like, you know when you just wake up from a dream and you kind of remember it, but not really?
Yeah.
That's what this is. And the episode's titled Transmission, but I would say this is escapism.
Yeah.
The episode. To go over it, there's a couple. They're expecting a baby. 8.5 months pregnant or something like that. They're kind of escape. Rowan is the scientist, xenobiologist. He's escaping his duties. And are these guys scientists? By hanging out, working on things for the baby. It's his escapism, right? Trying to bring some normalcy there. Terrible idea, bringing a kid on this like fucking first contact mission.
Well, and indeed,
wrap it up, you losers. And go ahead.
Well, and indeed, we find out at one point in the episode that there is that protocol is to terminate any pregnancy in space, which seems like a good idea to me.
Thank you. Pretty fucking phenomenally good idea. Maybe toss them a few, based on this crew, a few thousand condoms, like, too, while we're at it. Like, we've got Cerebro on the ship, but these motherfuckers don't know how condoms work.
You can't tell me that in this like sci-fi world either that they haven't like figured out like some sort of like chemical-based contraceptive. Like,
I was just gonna say take a pill and
you take a pill and yeah.
We're thinking if only there was some sort of like thin like silicone based membrane that the male could put over his phallus to prevent insemination.
Gee.
Like such sci-fi things are wildly out of our reach. Oh, but there's Cerebro on the ship and he's also connecting it to flesh sent. Okay, so let me back up, people. So Cerebro is on the ship and it's called the memory orb or some shit, right? And it can help you go through your own memories with clarity because the human mind, every time you revisit a memory, you kind of unlock it, change it a bit, remember it, and then store it again. So the more you reminisce about a memory, the more it's not.
Yeah, accurate. You're not remembering the actual event itself per se. You're remembering the last time you recalled it, essentially. That's why memory changes.
It's like resaving a JPEG file over and over again. You're going to get some what's it called, artifacting.
Yeah.
But this thing is supposed to go in there and clarify it. Um, Apparently, this fuck piece of shit, Carl DeBrannon, right? He has access to this thing carte blanche
Okay.
because like he just has full, like, does he have to share this? Is this his?
So I'm kind of, this is not related to this episode, but I'm kind of like glancing at the Wikipedia page for this show and seeing some of the just kind of sort of like skimming over some of the plot synopses, and we got fucking robot duplicates in this show at some point too.
Okay, so
And
the
we got ghosts, robotic spiders.
I yeah, okay, so everyone, Carl DeBrannon, astrophysicist, leader of the Nightflyer expedition, but not the captain, right? He's got a dead daughter. He
Yeah.
likes to visit her because he thinks he's talking to her ghost in Cerebro. I okay. We've got the captain, the reclusive captain, Roy Eris. He's the strong-shouldered like black man who doesn't do anything on the show, but but not
That
only is
actor looked really familiar
he
to
looks
me.
really familiar. Not only is him and his partner, like I said, there's a lot of beautiful people on the show, actually. So that might have been what kept me going throughout it. But that dude is like the medical hologram.
Oh, he.
That's not a physical dude. It's a physical construct that people can like interact with or touch.
So it's an EMH basically, the
Ah,
doctor.
there's a double twist, my friend. A double twist. Do you want spoilers?
Why not? I'm not going to watch
I'm
this.
not. Actually, he's a living person
Oh,
who's casting this out, his consciousness out through mechanical means. And he's this kind of like thin, like diseased, like human in a tank with all these like wires connected into him. And he's connected to the ship.
oh. So the guy who plays the captain, I said he looks familiar. His name is
David.
David Ajala. The reason why he looks familiar is because he's in Star Trek Discovery. Also, one of his first roles was in The Dark Knight. You remember where Spawn is like, uh, I'm putting out a bounty on the clown. A million, half a million alive, a million dead, or something, or a
Something
million
like
alive,
that.
something alive. Two guys like show up and are like, "Hey, we found the Joker." One of the he doesn't have any lines, but one of them is this guy, and for some reason, this guy has always just stuck out in my head because he has like in that scene, he has like this big like smile on his face, and he's kind of like looking around in amazement.
Right, right.
So yeah, I don't know.
Wow, that's random.
I know this, but this actor has always stuck out in my mind in this like little bit like non-speaking part in The Dark Knight. Yeah,
And
and
he stands out here because he's like a construct.
yeah, um, but
But yeah, so he is a person that's has a 3D construct. He's in a relationship with Melantha,
right,
I think her name is, right? Yeah. And Rowan is in a relationship with uh who's the bee lady?
the
Uh
bee lady.
she's like a botanist and a bee. Like she looks after the bees that pollinate the plants and blah blah blah. There's a bee theme going on in the with her. But anyways, they're having a kid together. There's a lot going on here, and basically everyone's living in some escapism. And I'm like, who's working? And indeed, my lady Melantha, right? She goes to the who does she voice her concern with? Is it the captain? Yes. She goes to the captain and she's like Rowan is like obsessed with this kid. DeBrannon is like living in Cerebro and like doing the scientists on the flesh, which I'll get to. This person's doing this, this person's doing this. Lami is like jacked into her like matrix crystal for like 25 hours a day. Like, what the fuck? And the captain's like, hey, we're all people, don't worry about it. And I'm like, no, I'm with her. Like, what did you do? Like, open a phone book, like close your eyes and just stop and like pick people to go on this voyage? Like, phone book, as if it's like the 80s. Um, it's like, like, was it a game show? Like, how did these people get on here?
They're all like reality TV contest winners.
Hell, maybe this is reality TV and they're not
And
actually in a
maybe
spaceship.
this is they are
That
in
would
a
make the plot
spaceship.
more interesting.
They are in a spaceship, but it's a reality show. Just putting them through the ringer. It's like total uh like like Schadenfreude.
Mm.
Um like just a reality show to just watch people like go out of their minds and suffer in space.
And see their reaction,
Yeah.
like the vaults from the Fallout series. They weren't meant to protect people. They were meant to like study how people react in isolation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what my favorite vault is in I can't remember. I think it's like Vault once uh Vault 98 or something like that. I can't remember, but it's the one with all the Gary clones.
Gary, do you know I
I
actually did a
and all they
reference for that in my LARP?
Oh, really? And
Yeah, I had a
all
whole
they
bunch
say
of
is Gary.
clones. Yeah, I had a whole bunch of clones in my Vampire the Masquerade LARP. And there's this villain type in Vampire the Masquerade. People are like, oh my God, this fucking nerd. But basically, they all share one consciousness and they all look exactly alike. They're called the
Right.
Blood Brothers. And I made them like a little gang. And whenever they get, they use magics to make themselves all look the same and they get the same tattoos and that kind of thing. But I had them mostly just say Gary when they first interacted. And all their names were Gary.
Nice.
And they'd be like, Gary, nice to meet you, Gary. Gary.
Ah, Gary. Gary.
Gary. Gary? Gary.
It'd be
And
fun. It'd be funny if they said brother too. They just said Gary and brother.
brother. Gary.
Brother. Brother Gary.
Gary, brother. um, so, well, speaking of clones, the flesh that DeBrannon has in his office, the Cerebro room,
Yeah.
they got a probe back that mankind had sent off to the aliens are called, let's call them the Vok.
Sure.
For I Voltron. I what you can't find it in front of me.
Voltron.
Voltron. So they sent the probe off to Voltron and they get it back. And it's working fine-ish, differently, but it's full of meat. They open up the panel and it's full of meat and flesh. And
Ugh.
it's alive. And they're like, what the actual fuck? And they like test it, right? And they take it out and it's dying because it's somehow lived in space. And it is human. And when they test the DNA, it is astrophysicist DeBrannon. It is his DNA.
Okay.
So instead of being like, hey, this is getting really fucking weird, let's get other scientists working on this, they're like, DeBrannon, the mentally fucked up person that lost his daughter, who's been abusing Cerebro, the memory orb, let's leave all of this science stuff in his hands. I'm sure he won't get up to mad scientist shit with it.
His very capable and stable hands.
His very capable and not emotionally fucking traumatized hands. Lo and behold, he gets up to mad scientist shit, which the other characters don't even seem to fucking care about, including the psychiatrist who he's banging. Has nobody walked into this guy's office and been like, "Ooh, okay, no, sick leave right now. You're getting out of here." And in fact, somebody comes in here later.
Abandoned ship. Abandoned ship. Just
Right?
running down the hall.
And later, a dude does go in there and he's like, wow, I like what you've done with the place. Dude, why aren't you arresting this guy? Guys, oh, I like what you've done with all of the weird like the thing. Oh, by the way, it starts fucking moving at some point, like growing like little tentacles and like trying to move
Oh
around,
yeah, I remember that. I
which
was
it doesn't
yeah.
revisit and has no consequences. But whatever. Thought the dude was gonna eat it at some point. But anyways, he figures if he connects all of his fleshy clone space flesh bits to Cerebro, he can visit his dead daughter's ghost more.
Now,
And this guy's been slowly slipping through the cracks the whole series. And indeed, when he ends up having a conversation, we're not going to go beat by beat through the episode. People,
no.
it's 50 goddamn minutes. And it wouldn't help explain the plot. So I'm just
No,
hitting
it
the major
wouldn't.
beats. You might be more confused. And he meets his dead daughter. And this time, now that he's connected all the flesh bits, he can communicate with the ghost of his dead daughter better. And her name's Sky.
And
And
she
she's
seems
like,
to think that he's the one who's dead.
he's dead. And she's like, no, you never came back. And he's like, Sky, 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 you stupid fucking idiot. Uh, you're the one that's dead. Get a load of this chick. And and she's like, no, daddy, you're the one that's dead.
Which seems more legit, in my opinion. I don't know how
And
this
now I'm
goes, but
like,
like,
I've seen Event Horizon. What if all of the crew are dead? Which
yeah.
explains why everything is so fucking stupid. I'll expand upon that later. Apart from killing themselves with telepathic virtual reality, well, not virtual reality, telepathic reality, um,
And also virtual reality.
and Lami. Okay, so there's a cyberpunk hacker who spends 25 hours a day because she overclocks herself, living in a diner with her family.
Yeah, who
But
then gets
also,
murdered by a little girl who I think is some sort of haywire computer program.
so the captain's mom was the one that created this technology,
Right.
and she was evilly possessing the Matrix crystal, and they had just ousted her and created a firewall so she can't fuck with the crew anymore.
Okay.
And Lami built all of this up, and apparently she's the only fucking programmer in the entire ship. And it shows extras running around. There's not like 8 people on the ship. It makes it seem like there is, but they call them non-essential personnel. Fuck you. They must be doing more
They
things
must be
than the
doing
cast.
something if they're
They're
there.
doing. Why are you here? Oh, I'm just here to, I don't know, be fed to the fucking flesh alien when we.
I'm just here to be cannon fodder.
Yeah, so when the telepath goes out of control later, my hands can melt. None of the things we're saying are an exaggeration. We can't even go over all the batshit crazy stuff. Anyways, the pregnant lady and Rowan, I actually really like Rowan because he's really friendly and he's really nice, but you could see like his patience only goes so thin. And I like really compassionate characters that can stand their ground.
Right.
And that's what I get from Rowan. He's like, hey, DeBrandon, you can't talk to your dead daughter. It's time to throw away all your fleshy bits and like come outside. Have you eaten in like the last day? You look like shit, man.
And so here something kind of confuses me. He's like he says something about the mad scientist dude is like oh I knew you never forgave me or something for following protocol. And he's like, what protocol? And they kind of like argue about it. And he's like, all pregnancies in space must be terminated.
Yeah, because he said, what protocol? And I'm like, why does DeBrannon, why is he the only one that knows this?
And so
There's
I'm kind of
there's 100 of you on
confused.
this ship.
I'm confused because his wife is pregnant now and gives birth at the end of the episode. But the way the mad scientist dude is talking, he's speaking like he terminated the pregnancy. Like he's talking like it happened in past tense.
No, so what's happening here is that he knows he lost his daughter and he's like, Carl, it's okay. I know this is hard for you because I'm having a kid and you lost your kid. And he's like, it's not hard for me. Like, you're lucky I never mentioned like that you broke protocol. Anyways, oh, I need to show you this. And he's like,
Oh,
what
okay.
protocol are you talking about? And he must know, right? Like everybody knows this lady's pregnant,
Yeah,
but nobody held them accountable, or they just break the rules here. This is a wacky fucking bullshit like scenario. Like nobody's reaction, nobody's actions, nothing makes sense on the fucking show. It's bananas. It's Event Horizon right before everybody goes crazy and kills themselves.
right.
By the
Right
way,
before they start
spoilers.
like carving their eyes out.
Spoilers, guess what happens at the end of the series? Yeah. um and This is escapism, the episode. Lami is in the Lawnmower Man virtual reality, where the child version of Eris's mother still lives, who's an AI construct. Rowan gets angry and he's like, what protocol? And he's like, all pregnancies are supposed to be, space pregnancies are supposed to be terminated. And it's like, yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of complications out here, especially on an experimental mission. You just got a probe back from an alien race and it's full of cloned flesh from the leader of the expedition. Uh, and indeed, Thale, he goes and he checks out the baby and they're like, oh, can you tell what the baby's thinking? Use your psychic powers. And I'm like, maybe not let the fucking freak show near
Yeah.
the baby. And he tries to read its mind and he freaks out. And they're like, what? Tell me. And there's so many, tell me, what tropes going on in the episode. I lost count, but eventually they always turn like, Lami, where are you going? Wait, tell me what's wrong. It happens so much throughout the episode.
You
And he's
don't
like,
say. You don't say. You don't say.
what did he say?
He didn't say.
He didn't say. Everybody our age must know what
Yeah.
that's in reference to.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like, oh, do you remember your bees? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, it was like 1,000 tiny voices screaming out all at once, and then silence. And Rowan's like, all right, fuck off, mate. And the
So what we're
mom's like,
saying, is, the Death Star just blew up the planet Alderaan.
the planet baby, and it's made out of bees. I'm
It
I
was
wish
like
I'm not pretending that I'm
I
not
sense
making fun of the show. This is
I,
what it's about.
I sense a great disturbance in the Force. It's as if
Yeah,
a million voices cried out in terror and were
and then
suddenly
turned into
silenced.
bees. That's what this show's about, by the way. So yeah, Lami comes out because the only sane person, the only professional on the show is Melantha. Like
Right.
literally, I don't know what they would do without her. And she's like, she finds Lami and she's like, you've been plugged in for 2 days. You've pissed yourself like twice. Like, go and eat something. Somebody, why isn't the crew being looked after? The most insane person is banging the psychiatrist, and she's not noticing he's insane. Indeed, at the beginning of the episode, they're like fucking, and like he accidentally gets like some weird torture, some trauma that she beams into his head, and he's like, ah, and she's like, oh geez, you found out I'm psychic. I knew you'd be upset at me. And it's like, lady, I was about to nut, and you just beamed like gore into my head. Like, don't get
Do it again.
again more. And
The more
indeed,
twisted, the better.
all of Thale's lackeys, all of the like side crew of the show, they all start acting like junkies. They're like, Thale, when's the next hit, man? When are we gonna go skydiving? When are we gonna murder each other? And he's like, whoa, calm your shit. And one of them is like, hey, I got this. Leave him alone. And the reason he's protecting him is because I guess in the middle of the mess hall, like in front of like 15 fucking people, they just go into this simulated telepathic reality and like look like different people and fuck. Like on the floor.
Yeah, this scene was so weird to me.
Where's there's no professionalism on the show. Like, I'd be locked in the brig or like jettisoned out into space because I'm like, holy shit, none of you are doing your jobs. I'm taking over. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but like, everyone is off the deep end. This is nuts. And when Thale starts getting yelled at and he realizes everybody's just using him and not actually his friend or interested in him, he has a psychic meltdown where his face and like body is like changing and stuff, and he walks throughout the ship giving people migraines, making people's dicks explode. For some reason one person's like, my hands, they're melting. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Why not? And he locks himself in his little psychic proof jail cell where
Right.
Agatha, yeah, what's her name, Agatha, because she's a psychic, she can get a little bit closer to him without her mind melting. So everything's going wrong. Cerebro is showing Debran ghosts. Lami can't control the Matrix crystal. Thale and his junkies all got their minds melted, or maybe they'll recover, I guess. Oh, by the way, Agatha, um, her powers, her medication, she's actually an L1, I guess, like a very powerful psychic, but her medication is not working anymore.
Apparently, she
Um,
dies at some point in the show.
uh, they all do.
Okay,
Sort
so
of, not really. It's Event Horizon. Don't worry
listen,
about it.
listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a bit from the plot synopsis of the season slash series finale. Thale, Carl, and Melantha soon realize that Cynthia is inhabiting Lami's body. Melantha
No,
discovers that the true Roy heiress is a cross-sex clone of Cynthia who inhabits a life support tank who had been controlling a healthier robotic duplicate, and that Melanthia herself is a direct clone of Cynthia. What the fuck is this show? That is some
Melanthia's a clone of Cynthia.
that is some convoluted ass bullshit right there.
And Roy Eris, the captain, is a cross-gender clone of Cynthia.
Yeah.
So her son,
And Cynthia is inhabiting Lami's body.
because she exists in the Matrix crystal and she must possess her at some point.
And she also has a robot duplicate. And Melanthia is also a clone of her.
A one-for-one clone. I've watched this series, people, and that just, I, this is bananas. And here's the thing, I, I'm for it. I'm for it. But
This
boy, oh boy, does this episode open with some scarring shit.
this show should be something that I really like.
But
It should. It really should. It really should. It should be something that I really
trigger
like.
warning. We should have mentioned that very out the gate. Like suicide. Like, okay, let's get to the ending.
Baby
Shit
death.
is going bad, right? They go to get it checked up because there's some tremors going on in the lady's belly. And the doctor, who's seems not great for the whole of the series, she's like, "Uh-oh, there's heart palpitations. This this baby's got to come out." And they're like,
Yep.
"What? No, 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 it can't." And they're like, "Nope, nope. Medical team, get down here. Oh geez, I'm gonna have to deliver it without any like equipment. Oh geez." And I'm like, "Oh, they're gonna have to like split it open or do whatever." No, they just deliver it like normal. I thought it was gonna be like C-section or something.
Fastest delivery in
I was
history.
gonna say in the history, considering it wasn't due,
Yeah.
right? And then when it comes out, I'm expecting like some Cthulhian horror because the doctor's like, and I'm like, oh fuck, does this thing have like horns and like tentacles and shit? And then Rowan comes over and he's like, he's already starting to like lose it. He's like, the baby, it's a beautiful girl. And then the camera cuts to it and it's just pretty realistic, like wax or like prosthetic, like looking like baby. And it's
Right.
stillborn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why was the doc also like, you're a doctor? hang it upside down, spank it, like try to resuscitate it. There's lots of babies that come out like not breathing, but she's just like, there's nothing we could do. I have to contact the captain. And the mom's like, why? Because I have to contact them whenever there's a death on the ship.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you gonna try? Try to revive the baby? Like at all? You incompetent piece of shit, doctor. Yeah, so
But apparently not. Baby's
yeah, I know.
dead.
I was like, the doctor didn't do anything, and Rowan almost seems delusional, and then he comes around to it, and then she's like, "Oh, let's get the blanket we prepared for the baby."
But
And I'm
then the
like, "Or you could just
baby,
stay, or you can just stay with her right now."
the baby,
So before
melts.
we, yeah, so before the baby melts, the space baby, which
Yeah.
shouldn't have ever been brought to term,
Right.
like maybe avoid because of this reason, I guess. Classic case of melting into black ashes.
Well, it seems to be some kind of a spore because it's going into the air and they end up
Y-
quarantining. Before
yeah,
that actually happens, though, there is a scene where the mad scientist guy goes to visit baby daddy and he's
this
like,
is important. Yeah, so
this
DeBrannon
scene
kind of
actually,
goes.
uh, I actually found this kind of heartbreaking because he's there with like a little, like,
Rowan is going to get the blanket, but he's carving something. You can't
yeah,
see, you just see his back, right? And also, kind of fuck this guy. Maybe don't tell them this part, but I'll get to that. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, he reveals that the kid died, and he's like, "Hey, like I'm sorry." And like they've had their differences, but like you can tell they're like on and off like best friends, right?
yeah.
And he's like, "We wanted to name her Sky, and it looks." And he was just carving her name into the cradle.
Hmm.
And I'm like, shouldn't you have grabbed the blanket and ran back to your mother who's holding your stillborn baby? Let's just stop and carve Sky in there. But also, you named it Sky because they were saying it, so they didn't really know the gender of the baby, or they didn't care. They were waiting, right?
Yeah.
Don't tell the dude that lost his daughter that your stillborn baby was named after his dead daughter.
Yeah.
Maybe just
Keep that to
don't.
yourself for a little
And
while.
I understand it's supposed to be like, hey, we met because you introduced us. We wouldn't have met without you. So it's heartwarming, right? But they probably had a boy name pick, or Sky is unisex, right? So maybe it's just weird that he's carving Sky into the the cradle there. It's as if he wants to hurt Carl
Right.
by telling him that. And so they go back and he's like, "Hey, sorry it took me so long. I had to carve our dead child's name into the cradle we're not going to use. But here's the blanket." I and then because, if you weren't scarred enough from one of the many fucked up things that are happening during the episode, um the baby starts melting into like fucking black fungal like alien covenant spores.
Yeah.
And the captain is in there.
Oh yeah,
The
this does kind of
doctor.
remind me of the stuff the black dust from Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Yeah, I'd never even
And the
thought of that.
captain is in there, and Carl and Rowan show up, and the baby's like melting into black fucking spores and traumatizing like the fucking like mom. And the doctor's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And Carl's immediately is like, "Quarantine now."
Yeah,
And the doctor,
that
who
is the
isn't
only sensible thing that anyone has done in this entire episode.
Melantha, tries to help Lami, the only one that isn't insane on the show. Rowan is now going to be scarred. The mom is fucking scarred for sure,
Yeah.
right? Um the captain leans over, hits a button, and doors close, see-through doors, so you can see the suffering of the others on the other side. Um and he quarantines, and I guess the doctor doesn't care because he's in a construct. He can only appear in certain rooms, like hard light,
Right.
right? Um, so the doctor and the mom are are stuck in there, and that's how the episode ends. So it opens up with a good old friendly game of willful Russian roulette where people get to live killing themselves vicariously through psychic dreams. And it ends with a mother and father losing their baby and
The baby melting
being
into spores right
melting,
before our very
holding
eyes.
her. Like the camera zooms in and shows its face like fucking like melting. And yeah. So it's like, how do you watch this episode and not think everyone is going to die or go on a killing spree or carve their own eyes out at the end?
Per Wikipedia, on review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, the series has an approval rating of 33% based on 27 reviews with an average rating of 5.41 out of 10. So, yeah, the critics weren't big fans of this show. And so
I'm a fan of its potential and its fuck upness. Since there's already spoilers like of the show, big mistake is the very first opening of episode 1 shows what happens at the very end and shows a bunch of people episode 1 shows a bunch of people dead, and it shows one of the characters that we've just seen walking around with an axe going crazy killing people.
Off the top of my head,
hate that.
Off the top of my head, the only show that I can think of that starts with basically like the end of the season and then works back from there. The only show off the top of my head that I can think that actually like gets away with that and does it well is Breaking Bad.
I knew you were going to say Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's usually quite contrived.
If you want to watch the show, listeners, like we've already said, like a bunch of people die, blah blah blah. Skip past that intro part because it shows characters lying dead on the ground, somebody becoming an axe murderer, other people like dying, and other people like hiding or like whatever as like the klaxons are going, and it's all kind of like madness. That doesn't help. That hurts the show. Because it's way worse watching the show knowing who's going to snap and who's going to die.
Right.
Wouldn't it be better? And indeed, if I was to show somebody this, I would fast forward and then go, here, watch from here.
So, since you've already watched the entire series, there's no point in me asking you if you would tune in next week. So why don't you throw the question my way?
Ask me first. I demand it.
All right. Cal, you caught a random episode of Nightflyers in the night. Would you tune in next week?
Christopher Siege, you just caught a random episode of Nightflyers in the night. Would you tune in next week?
No. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
I think you've watched the entire series in one episode anyway. This encapsulates the series entirely. A bunch of mad scientists that are not professional whatsoever, that don't do their job properly.
If someone told me I had to sit down and watch this show,
held a gun to your head,
I would say what I would do is I would grab out my wallet and open it up, pull all the cash out that I have, and give it to the person.
Sir.
And say, please, just let me go.
Take everything.
Take it all.
Take my shoes. You want my shoes? Please. Have 50 minutes? 10 episodes? No,
I cannot do 10 hours of this show.
Do you want my gold? Do you want my gold filling? Please, sir. You open up your wallet, pull out the no cash that you have.
Yeah.
Go, please, take it all.
Take it all, please. Just let me go.
It's just like expired coupons for McDonald's. Get the fuck out of here. But by
I'm
then,
gonna,
you've run away.
I'm gonna let you live just because you're so pathetic.
A picture of yourself, an expired visa, and McDonald's coupons from 2018.
Oh, holy Christ. Yeah, this show sucks. It's got some interesting ideas. And like I was saying earlier, I should like this show. This seems like it would be up my alley, but
This is like it has everything I want. I'm like, ooh, scary shit. Ooh,
it's
it's
all.
Mass Effect. It's TLC presents Mass Effect.
And here's the thing. So the show has like some really like out there and bananas and interesting ideas.
Yeah.
Its failings are entirely its execution. This is a great example of like an interesting idea that like falls flat on its face because it's just so poorly realized.
Yeah, like the WB, it's WB Event Horizon.
Yeah.
But like it does have a lot that I like. I like the psychic aspect. I like I'm actually like a clone. I love all of that on paper. But it tries to do it all at once. And it's not even that the acting is bad. It's
I found the cast pretty generic, to be perfectly honest, with the exception of the captain dude and Gretchen Mol, who plays the psychiatrist or whatever. She's usually good in whatever she's in.
yeah. But what I mean is they're not necessarily bad, but it's just there's no chance for any of the characters to like develop because it has this greater batch. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It's like, ooh, is everything being weird because they're coming closer to the Voltron? Is everything weird because of the psychics? Is it both? The psychics are getting stronger because they're getting closer to the aliens. It does every sci-fi trope possible instead of focusing on a good plot.
Yeah, and we
Like,
don't
why
need.
does the baby melt into spores? And I'll tell you this because I've watched the series. There's no reason. It just
Huh.
like she didn't come in contact with like aliens.
We
It's everything. There's clones. There's robots.
there's clones, there's like there's robot duplicates, there's holograms. We've got a psychic dream world. We've got a computer digital dream world.
We've
We've
got
got
Cerebro.
Cerebro digital world. Like you don't need there's too much going on in this show.
There's too much sci-fi.
It's there's too much happening to the point that it's just like every single like sci-fi idea that someone had, they just threw everything. It's like they had
Listeners,
ideas.
name a sci-fi trope. It's on this
Yeah.
fucking show. This episode, probably.
Yeah, probably. So
The
and
only
as I
thing
was
they didn't have was like a hull breach and somebody had to like go out and spacewalk. That's
or
like
like
the
a
only,
self-destruct sequence.
or yeah, a klaxon, but other episodes have that. So
Well, there you go.
it, there you go, Nightflyers, the show that has everything and delivers nothing.
That's a quote for the poster right there. Nightflyers, the show that has everything and does nothing with it.
Maybe that should be
That should be your
Laser Combs.
that's a tweet right there waiting to
That
happen.
is a tweet, yeah. I'm gonna tweet that after this. Just reviewed Nightflyers.
I tweeted earlier that 11-year-old Siege thinks 37-year-old Siege is the coolest grown-up ever.
Don't you forget about me. And you give 11-year-old Siege like a thumbs up and he's like, fuck yeah, bud. What do I have to do to change my life to be you? And you're like, nothing.
Literally nothing. You will just grow into this.
Sweet.
Just
But
grow.
then that
Do
Siege
nothing
ends
with.
up being different because he's messed with the timeline.
Do absolutely nothing with your life, and this is what you will become.
But by communicating with future him, he's now going to do something with his life and change the timeline.
and a
There
bunch
you
of
go. We didn't have time
uh,
shenanigans this episode.
there's got to be time shenanigans in this
There
show,
is.
though. There, yeah, of course, there is.
Fuck. Well, there you go, folks.
Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, that was episode 50 of the Lasercomb podcast. Best way to support the show is go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. We're at the single $5 Gary tier. You get bonus preamble audio, you get commentary tracks, you get our news and current events program, Lasercomb Tonight, and you get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of, much like we did today.
That's right.
Follow me on Twitter at Lasercomb, spelled the same way, LAZORCOMB. Cal, they can follow you at
NeoKal, NEO_KAL.
We'll be back next week as we continue on with our Halloween horror theme, where we're going to be talking about Ash versus Evil Dead.
Something that I can guarantee we may like a little bit more.
Just a little bit, yeah, just a tad. So
we could watch the worst episode, and I guarantee you we'll have something better to say about it.
So what we're going to do here is go to the old screen share. And Ash vs. Evil Dead had 3 seasons of 10 episodes apiece, so 30 episodes.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. So one random number between 1 and 30. And here we go. As it spins.
Nobody knows.
As it spins, nobody knows. Except the shadow. 14.
The shadow knows.
DUI. The possessed Delta continues its rampage, holding one of the teenagers, Lacey, hostage. It comes back and kidnaps Pablo as well. Ash takes Chet in tow, driving his car, and pursues the Delta, and a whole bunch of other stuff. All right.
And a bunch of stuff.
Stopping screen share. And yeah, we will be back next week with episode 14 of Ash vs. Evil Dead. And until then, I am the Siege with the bullshit haircut, one of your hosts.
And I'm NeoKal with a hidden haircut, your other host.
Thanks for listening. We will night fly by you next week.
Where we're going, we don't need plot.